"I can't take it anymore. I want to do it here and now," said the Apache girl to the young cowboy. The sun rose slowly over the small western town of Willow Creek. Dust swirled along the wooden streets, catching the early light like tiny golden sparks. It was quiet in the morning, except for the sound of hooves on the dirt roads and the occasional crow calling from the rooftops. People were just beginning to stir in the wooden houses and small stores, preparing for another long day. Out beyond the town, the plains stretched endlessly, dotted with sagebrush and wildflowers, a place where the wind seemed to carry secrets of the past. Lena stepped out of the small cabin where she lived with her family on the edge of the Apache reservation. She was young, barely 19, but her eyes held a depth and strength that came from a life full of rules, limits, and expectations. Her long, dark hair was tied back with a simple ribbon, and her dress, though plain, was neat and carefully worn. She moved lightly over the soft earth, careful not to disturb the small animals and birds that lived nearby. Every day, she walked to the river to collect water and sometimes herbs for her mother's cooking. Today, though, she carried a restless energy, a feeling in her chest that she could not name but that demanded movement. The river sparkled in the morning sun, a silver ribbon winding through the plain. Lena knelt by the water, dipping her clay pot in and filling it slowly. She paused to watch the current, letting her thoughts drift. She loved her home, the traditions of her people, the stories of her ancestors, but sometimes it felt like the walls around her were closing in. She dreamed of seeing the world beyond the reservation, of feeling the wind on a horse as she rode across the plains with no one to tell her what to do. At that moment, a sound of hooves reached her ears. Lena looked up and saw a young cowboy approaching from the edge of the trees. He rode a horse that was spirited but under control, moving with a skill that only came from years of practice. He was tall and lean, with a wide-brimmed hat that shadowed his face, but Lena could see his eyes glint in the sunlight. There was something different about him. He did not carry the harshness she had seen in some of the men from the town. Instead, there was curiosity in his gaze and a gentle patience in the way he guided his horse. The cowboy stopped a few yards away, tipping his hat slightly. "Morning," he said, his voice calm and friendly. "Beautiful day, isn't it?" Lena studied him carefully. She was cautious, as she always was with outsiders. "Yes," she said softly, holding her pot steady. "It is. My name is Jack," he said, offering a small smile. "I just arrived in town, working on the McAllister ranch." "I'm Lena," she replied, her voice quiet but firm. She didn't move closer, but she didn't step back either. Something about this young man seemed honest, even kind. Jack noticed her alertness, the way her eyes measured him, and he did not push. "I don't mean to bother you," he said. "I'm just passing by." Lena shook her head slightly. "You're not bothering me, She hesitated. "I like the river, it is quiet here." Jack nodded. "I can understand that. There's peace in places like this. It's rare to find these spots." He smiled again, this time a little wider. "Do you come here often?" "Yes," Lena said simply. "Every morning." For a few minutes they watched the river together in silence. Lena felt an unexpected calm with him nearby. He seemed different from the people she had met before. He did not ask questions she was not ready to answer. He did not judge her or her world, and somehow that made her want to speak, to share a little of herself. "Do you live around here?" Jack asked, breaking the silence. "Yes," Lena replied, "with my family." "On the edge of the reservation." She noticed a flicker of understanding in his eyes, but he said nothing further. Jack guided his horse closer to the riverbank, letting it drink from the clear water. Lena watched as he worked with patience and care. The horse was strong and spirited, but Jack's gentle touch kept it calm. There was skill in his movements, a quiet confidence that Lena admired. She had seen many cowboys in her life, but few who treated their animals with such respect. "Your horse is beautiful," she said, surprising herself with the compliment. "Thank you," Jack said, looking at her with a kind smile. "And you look like you belong here. The river suits you." Lena's cheeks flushed slightly, and she looked away, focusing on the ripples in the water. She did not often receive compliments from strangers, and even fewer that felt sincere. There was something different about him, something that made her want to trust him, even though she knew she shouldn't. Days passed, and Jack continued to work at the ranch, but he often found reasons to pass by the river. Lena and he began to exchange small words, stories, and observations. They spoke about the wind, the animals, the changing seasons, and sometimes the dreams they held inside. Lena spoke carefully, choosing her words, but Jack listened with genuine interest. She began to feel a connection, a small spark of hope that maybe the world could hold more for her than she had imagined. Jack, for his part, found himself drawn to her strength, her quiet intelligence, and the fire that sometimes flared in her eyes when she spoke about freedom and dreams. He had met many people in his life, but few had moved him in the way she did. There was honesty in her, and an independence that he admired deeply. One afternoon, as the sun hung low in the sky and painted the plains in shades of gold and orange, Lena and Jack walked along the riverbank together. The water reflected the sky, and the world felt as if it were holding its breath. "I wish I could see more of the world," Lena said softly, breaking the comfortable silence. "Beyond the hills, beyond the town, there is so much out there, so much I have never known." Jack nodded. "I know what you mean. I've traveled some, but even I feel like there's so much more I haven't seen. It's almost like the world is waiting for us, but it won't wait forever." Lena looked at him, her eyes searching. "Do you think it is possible to find a place where we can be ourselves, without rules, without expectations?" Jack considered this. "I think if you try hard enough and if you have someone by your side who believes in you, maybe it is." He paused. "I would try if I could." Lena smiled faintly, feeling a warmth spread in her chest. For the first time in a long time, she felt seen, not as a girl bound by traditions or limits, but as a person with dreams, hopes, and desires. The weeks passed, and their friendship grew stronger. They shared small adventures, riding horses across the open plains, collecting herbs, or sitting by the river under the stars. Lena taught Jack about her people's stories and the ways of the land, while Jack shared tales from the town and beyond. Each day, Lena's heart felt a little freer, her spirit a little lighter. But even as she grew closer to Jack, she felt the invisible weight of expectation pressing down. Her elders watched closely, her family worried about her safety, and the rules of her community seemed like walls closing in. She loved her culture, her people, but she also dreamed of more, a life where she could choose her path, feel the wind freely, and live without constant boundaries. One morning, as they stood together by the river, Lena spoke quietly, almost to herself. "Sometimes I feel trapped. I don't want to be just what they expect me to be. I want to live, I want to feel, I want to see the world before it passes me by." Jack looked at her, understanding in his eyes. "You will, Lena, and I'll be here helping you any way I can." She smiled, though there was a sadness in her expression. "Thank you, Jack. That means a lot." The river flowed endlessly before them, carrying the reflection of the sky and the promise of a new day. Lena and Jack stood together, two people from different worlds, finding a connection in a place where few others could understand. The days were still long, and the challenges were many, but in that moment, hope was alive. Hope that one day, perhaps, dreams could become reality. And as the sun climbed higher, casting light across the plains, Lena felt a spark of courage in her heart. She did not know what the future held, but she knew one thing for certain. For the first time, she was ready to reach for it. The days turned into weeks, and the bond between Lena and Jack grew quietly, like a small fire warming them against the cold rules of the world around them. Each morning, Lena walked to the river with her pot in hand, and more often than not, she found Jack waiting there, riding slowly along the riverbank as if he had nowhere else to be. They spoke less of the town, less of its people, and more about the land, the wind, and the dreams that stirred in their hearts. Lena began to notice small changes in herself. Her laughter came more easily, and even the weight of expectations pressed less heavily on her spirit when she thought of these stolen moments by the river. Jack was patient, never rushing her, always letting her speak or remain silent as she wished. And yet, with the growing closeness, a tension began to settle in the air, unspoken but undeniable. Lena felt it most in the quiet nights, lying awake in her small cabin, thinking about the plains, about Jack, and about the future she could not yet reach. One afternoon, Jack suggested a ride farther along the plains than they had ever gone before. Lena's heart leapt at the idea. The sun was high, warming the land, and the wind carried the scent of wildflowers and dry grass. They rode side by side, the horses' hooves kicking up small clouds of dust. Lena felt free, almost weightless, as if the plains themselves were opening up a space for her to breathe, to think, to be herself. "Do you ever wonder what lies beyond the hills?" Lena asked, her voice soft yet full of longing. "All the time," Jack replied. Sometimes I think about leaving the town, the ranch, everything behind just to see the world, but it's not easy. Responsibilities, people counting on you, they don't go away. Lena nodded. I know. Sometimes I feel trapped in my own life, like I'm being pulled in all directions at once. Family, traditions, the people of my village, they all expect me to follow a path that I did not choose. Jack's gaze softened. I understand, and yet here you are walking your path every day, strong and brave, even when it's hard. That courage, that's rare, Lena. Her cheeks flushed. She didn't often hear such words, and they made her heart flutter. For the first time, she allowed herself to imagine that perhaps the world could hold a place for her dreams, alongside her duties and traditions. As they rode farther, they discovered a hidden grove of trees, their thick branches forming a canopy over a small patch of soft grass. Lena dismounted and ran her hands over the earth, feeling the coolness of the soil beneath her fingers. Jack followed, tying the horses to nearby trunks. They sat in silence for a while, listening to the rustle of leaves and the distant call of birds. This is perfect, Lena whispered. It feels safe, away from everyone, just us. Jack nodded. I'm glad you like it. I wanted to show you something special, somewhere you could feel free for a little while. They spent the afternoon talking, sharing stories of their pasts, of childhood memories, and of the things that scared them the most. Lena spoke of the strict rules she had grown up with, the ceremonies, and the expectations that sometimes felt suffocating. Jack listened, never judging, never interrupting. He shared tales of life on the ranch, of long days under the sun, of moments of loneliness in a world that was bigger and harder than it seemed from the edges of town. The more they shared, the more Lena realized how much she had in common with Jack. Both of them longed for freedom, for understanding, for a chance to be themselves without the weight of expectations. Yet the difference in their worlds was clear. Jack could leave and try new things without consequence. Lena's choices carried the weight of family, culture, and the eyes of her community. That reality pressed against her heart, reminding her that dreams alone could not change her situation. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows over the plains, they returned to the river. Lena's heart was heavy with the knowledge of what she could not yet have, but lightened by the companionship she found in Jack. They stopped by the water, letting their horses drink. Lena knelt beside the river, watching the reflection of the sky ripple with the current. Jack, she said quietly, do you ever feel like life is moving too fast and you're not ready for it? Jack looked at her, his expression serious. Every day. Sometimes I wish I could pause everything just for a moment to think, to feel, to breathe. And then I realize we have to move with it. Life doesn't wait for anyone, Lena, she nodded. I know, and yet I wish I could make my own decisions, choose my path. Decide where I go, what I do, who I am. Jack reached out and touched her hand lightly. You will. You are strong, Lena, stronger than most, and I'll help you however I can, I promise. The warmth of his hand against hers sent a shiver down her spine. Lena felt a mixture of hope and fear. Hope because she knew someone believed in her. Fear because the world outside these stolen moments could be harsh and not everyone would understand their bond. In the following days, the tension in Lena's life grew. Her elders noticed her frequent absences and whispered warnings to her parents. They reminded her of the importance of tradition, of respect, of duty. Her mother, who loved her deeply, tried to balance care with caution, gently urging Lena to stay close to home and follow the path laid out for her. Lena listened, nodded, and smiled, but inside her spirit felt restless, confined, and yearning for more. Jack sensed the change in her mood and tried to comfort her. You don't have to face it alone, he said. We can find a way together to help you feel free without hurting anyone. Lena smiled, appreciating his words, yet she could not shake the growing frustration. Every day felt like a struggle between duty and desire, between expectation and the longing to break free. She found herself waking in the night, staring at the ceiling of her small cabin, imagining a life beyond the walls of her village, with Jack by her side, exploring the plains, discovering hidden valleys, and living fully without fear. One evening, as the sky turned a soft shade of pink and the first stars appeared, Lena confided in Jack more openly than ever before. Sometimes I feel like I am drowning, she whispered. Like there is too much in my life, too many rules, too many eyes watching me. And yet I want to live, to feel, to choose for myself. Jack listened, his eyes never leaving hers. I understand, Lena, and I wish I could take all that weight off your shoulders, but even if we can't change everything right away, we can take small steps, together. One day at a time. Her heart lifted at his words. There was a comfort in knowing she was not alone, a reassurance that someone saw her not just as a girl bound by tradition, but as a person capable of dreams, desires, and courage. Their bond deepened with each passing day, yet the outside world continued to press on Lena's life. She knew that sooner or later decisions would have to be made. The safety of these hidden moments, the comfort of their secret talks by the river, could not last forever. Yet even as the pressure mounted, Lena felt a strength growing within her. She realized that while she could not control everything, she could control herself, her choices, her courage, and her determination to claim a future that felt true to her heart. One morning, as the sun peeked over the horizon, Lena and Jack sat by the river, their horses grazing nearby. Lena's eyes sparkled with a mixture of excitement and frustration. "Jack," she said, "I can't wait anymore. I feel like life is slipping past me and I'm still standing in the same place. I want something more. I want to feel alive, to do something for myself right now." Jack looked at her, seeing the fire in her eyes, the restless energy that could not be ignored. He understood her completely, yet he also knew the world around them was not ready for her freedom to be so easily claimed. "You're strong," he said quietly, "and I will be with you, but we have to be careful. The world isn't ready for us to just step away from everything." Lena nodded, a mix of determination and patience settling in her heart. She knew she would not give up. She would continue to dream, to act, and to fight for the chance to live fully, even if the journey was slow and difficult. As they sat together in the quiet morning, Lena felt a spark of courage, stronger than ever before. The plains stretched endlessly before them, a symbol of freedom, opportunity, and the life she longed for. And with Jack by her side, she felt that maybe, just maybe, she could find the strength to follow her heart, no matter where it led. The days grew warmer and the sun shone brighter over the plains. Lena felt it deep in her bones, the pull of the world beyond her village, the call to breathe freely and to make choices that were truly hers. Every morning she walked to the river with her clay pot, and Jack would often be waiting there, leaning against his horse, eyes scanning the horizon as if he could see her thoughts before she even spoke. Their secret meetings had become a lifeline. In those moments by the river, Lena could forget the pressures of tradition, the whispers of her elders, and the watchful eyes of her family. She could be herself, free, brave, and full of dreams. But even in these stolen moments, the tension in her heart was growing. It was no longer just curiosity or longing. It was impatience, frustration, and a hunger for action. One afternoon, as the sun hovered high above the plain, painting the grass gold and the sky blue, Lena arrived at the river and found Jack adjusting the saddle on his horse. He looked up and smiled when he saw her. "Morning," he said, his voice calm, carrying that quiet comfort Lena had come to rely on. "Morning," she replied, trying to steady the rapid beating of her heart. They rode together, letting the horses lead them along the soft dirt paths of the plains. The wind tugged at Lena's hair and she laughed, feeling the joy of freedom for a brief moment. But as they rode, her thoughts turned darker, heavier. The world beyond the river seemed so vast, yet she felt trapped in it. The expectations of her people, the rules that guided her life, pressed on her like a weight she could not shake. "Jack," she said suddenly, her voice trembling slightly, "do you ever feel like you are meant for something more, but everyone else wants you to stay small?" Jack glanced at her, understanding the question without needing words. "Yes," he said quietly, "more than you know. But sometimes, even when the world wants to hold us back, we have to find a way forward, step by step." Lena shook her head, frustration and longing flooding her chest. "Step by step, sometimes I can't wait. I feel like life is slipping past me. I want to act now, not later. I want to live fully without waiting for permission." Jack stopped his horse and looked at her, seeing the fire burning in her eyes. He knew she was speaking not just about the world beyond the village, but about herself, her desires, her dreams, her need to break free. "I know," he said softly. "I see it. And I want to help you, Lena, I really do. But we have to be careful, not because you're weak, but because the world outside here can be harsh. We need to protect you and your family, too." Lena's hands gripped the reins tightly. Her voice rose slightly, filled with emotion. "I'm not afraid. I can't stay small. I can't follow rules that I don't believe in. I don't want to wait for the right moment because the right moment may never come." Jack reached out and placed his hand gently on hers, trying to calm her. I understand, Lena, I really do, and I want you to have everything you dream of, but there's a way to do it that doesn't hurt you or anyone you love. She pulled her hand back, stepping off her horse. I can't take it anymore, Jack. I can't wait. I feel like I'm trapped, and every day that passes, every day I stay silent, feels like I am losing myself. I want something real, something true, something I can feel with every part of me. Jack stood quietly, searching for the right words. He understood the depth of her frustration, the burning desire for freedom, but he also knew that impulsive action could bring consequences she was not ready for. He wanted to respect her courage while guiding her toward a safer path. I know, Lena, he said finally, his voice calm but firm. I see how strong you are, and I see how much you want to act, and maybe it's time we start thinking about the steps we can take together. Not rushing, but moving forward. You and me, planning, dreaming, and making it happen in a way that protects you and the people you care about. Lena's eyes glistened with unshed tears. I don't know if I can wait for steps anymore. I feel like if I don't act, I'll lose my courage, my hope. I want to feel alive, Jack. I want to live fully right here, right now. Jack's heart ached at the intensity of her words. He had seen her bravery before, but this was different. The desperation, the urgency, the fire, it was all consuming. He wanted to comfort her, to take her pain away, but he also knew that the world outside this riverbank was not kind. And yet, he could not ignore the truth in her voice. For a long moment, they sat together in silence, the wind rustling the leaves above them, the horses grazing quietly nearby. Lena's chest heaved with emotion, and Jack's gaze never left her face. He saw her struggle, her desire, her need for freedom, and he felt an overwhelming desire to support her without letting harm come to her. Lena, he said softly, I promise you this. I will help you find a real way, not just dreams, not just wishes, but a path where you can be yourself, truly, without fear. She looked at him, searching his eyes for truth, for hope, for a way forward, and in that moment she felt something shift inside her. The fire of frustration was still there, but now it mingled with a flicker of hope, a sense that maybe she could move forward without losing herself. Over the next few days, they began to plan small steps. Lena would start learning skills that could help her explore beyond the village safely. Jack would teach her about survival on the plains, about finding food and water, about navigating the land. Every evening, after her chores were done, they would meet at the river to practice and prepare, speaking softly about the future they hoped to create. Yet, even with plans in place, the tension in Lena's heart did not disappear. She wanted to act now, to feel the thrill of freedom, to take a leap without waiting. Her elders continued to watch her closely, and the whispers in her village grew louder. The world seemed ready to close in on her, and she felt the pressure in every step she took. One evening, as the sun set in a sky of orange and pink, Lena and Jack sat by the river, their horses grazing nearby. Lena's hands shook slightly as she spoke. Jack, I can't wait anymore. I feel like if I wait, I'll lose everything. I need something now. I need to feel alive, to act, to be free. Jack reached out, taking her hands gently in his. I see you, Lena, I understand, but we have to be smart. We can act, yes, but we must do it carefully. We cannot risk everything in a single moment. Her eyes burned with frustration. I don't care about careful. I care about feeling alive. I care about being me. I care about feeling free. Jack could not deny the truth in her words. He could feel her courage, her urgency, her fire. And he realized that no amount of caution could stop the force of her desire. He took a deep breath. Okay, Lena, I will be with you. I will help you. But we must think quickly, clearly, and wisely. We will find a way to act together, and we will make it right. Lena's lips trembled, and she nodded, a mix of relief and excitement washing over her. For the first time, she felt that she was not alone in her struggle, that someone truly understood her, that she could finally take a step toward the life she longed for. The next few days were filled with careful preparation. They studied the land, memorized safe paths through the plains, and learned how to move quietly and swiftly. Every evening, they returned to the river to review their plans, to practice, and to encourage each other. Lena felt alive in a way she had never felt before. The fire inside her was no longer just frustration. It was hope, courage, and determination. And yet, even as they planned, the world outside continued to push back. The expectations of her family, the watchful eyes of the village, and the rules of tradition weighed heavily on her. Lena knew that the moment to act would come soon. She could feel it in her bones, in the racing of her heart, in the tension that pulsed through her every step. She could not wait much longer. One night under the soft glow of the moon, Lena spoke with Jack by the river, her voice trembling with urgency. "Jack, tonight I feel it. I can't wait any longer. I need to do it here and now. I need to feel alive, to act, to claim a part of myself before it slips away." Jack looked at her, understanding the depth of her emotions, feeling the fire of her courage, and knowing that he would stand with her no matter what. "I'm here, Lena," he said softly. "Whatever comes, I'll be with you. We will face this together." And in that moment, the tension in the air seemed to settle, replaced by a quiet determination. Lena's heart still raced with urgency and desire, but now, for the first time, she felt not just fear, but also hope. Hope that she could finally take a step toward the life she had dreamed of, with Jack by her side, and with the plains stretching endlessly before them, waiting for their courage to meet them. The night was calm, and the river glimmered under the soft light of the moon. The plains stretched out endlessly, quiet except for the gentle rustling of the wind and the distant calls of nocturnal birds. Lena stood at the edge of the riverbank, her heart racing, her mind alive with anticipation and fear. Every step she had taken in the past weeks had led to this moment, and she could feel the weight of both freedom and responsibility pressing on her shoulders. Jack stood beside her, his hand lightly brushing against hers. There was no need for words. They had shared their fears, hopes, and plans for days, and now the moment to act had arrived. Lena looked into his eyes and saw the same mixture of courage and concern she felt herself. He would be by her side no matter what, and that gave her the strength she needed. For weeks, they had practiced moving quietly across the plains, finding hidden paths and understanding the land. Lena had learned to read the stars, to feel the rhythm of the river, and to listen to the whispers of the wind. She had learned skills that gave her confidence, but nothing had prepared her for the emotional intensity of this night. "I'm ready," Lena whispered. Her voice was steady, though her heart beat fast. "No more waiting, no more hesitating. I want this freedom, courage, life right now." Jack nodded. "I'm here, we'll do this together." His voice was soft but firm, grounding her, giving her courage to move forward. They began their walk along the riverbank, careful to avoid the uneven rocks and the muddy patches. The cool night air brushed against their faces, and the sound of the river was like music, steady and calming. Lena felt alive in a way she had never known, every sense heightened by the adrenaline and anticipation. She felt the connection to the earth beneath her feet, the wind around her, and the steady presence of Jack beside her. As they moved farther from the village, Lena felt the invisible chains of expectation loosen. The rules that had once pressed heavily on her mind seemed distant now. She was not breaking tradition out of disrespect. She was stepping into her own courage, claiming her right to make decisions for herself, even in small ways. They found a quiet spot under a grove of trees, the same place they had discovered weeks before. The canopy of leaves sheltered them, and the soft grass beneath their feet felt like a promise of safety. Lena looked at Jack, her eyes shining with emotion. This is what I've been waiting for. A place where I can breathe, where I can feel alive, where I can make my own choices." Jack smiled gently. "It's yours, Lena. You've earned this moment. Every day you've struggled, every day you've dreamed, every step you've taken, it has led to this." For a while they simply sat together, listening to the night. Lena's thoughts turned inward, reflecting on the path she had walked so far. She remembered the quiet mornings by the river, the rides across the plains, the stolen moments of laughter and learning with Jack. Each memory was a thread, weaving together the courage and hope that had brought her to this moment. "I used to feel trapped," Lena admitted softly, "like the world was too small for me, and I had to follow every rule, every expectation. But now I feel like I can breathe. Like I can step into life fully, even if only for a moment." Jack reached out and held her hands. "You can do this, Lena, and even when the world seems to push back, even when there are limits and expectations, you have the strength to keep going. You've already shown it." A gentle breeze stirred the leaves above them, and Lena closed her eyes, letting herself feel the freedom she had longed for. She thought about her family, her elders, and her village. She knew that her choices would not always be understood, that some might be disappointed or worried. But she also knew that true courage meant following her heart, while still respecting the people she loved. "I'm ready to take the next step," Lena said, opening her eyes to meet Jack's gaze. Not just in thought, not just in dreams. I want to move forward, to live, to feel alive, and to do it with purpose. Jack nodded, understanding fully. Then let's do it together. Carefully, wisely, but fully. Tonight is the start of something new. They spent the rest of the night walking across the plains, exploring hidden valleys and paths they had not noticed before. Every step felt like a small victory, every breath a reminder that life was theirs to live. Lena's heart swelled with joy and pride. She felt the wind against her face, the grass beneath her hands, the sky stretching endlessly above her, and she realized that courage was not about fearlessness. It was about choosing to act even when fear was present. By the time the first light of dawn touched the horizon, painting the plains in soft pink and gold, Lena and Jack found themselves on a small rise overlooking the river. They sat together, watching the sunrise, letting the warmth of the new day fill them with hope. Lena felt a deep sense of accomplishment. She had faced her fear, embraced her longing, and taken a step toward the life she wanted, all while staying true to herself. "Look at that," Lena whispered, pointing to the horizon. "It's beautiful." Jack smiled, wrapping an arm gently around her shoulders. "Not as beautiful as your courage. You've done something amazing, Lena, something few people ever manage." Tears filled her eyes, not from sadness but from relief and joy. For the first time in her life, she felt fully seen, fully alive, and fully capable. The path ahead would still have challenges, and the expectations of her community would not disappear, but she knew she could face them. She had found strength she did not know she possessed, and she had found a companion in Jack who believed in her and supported her fully. As the morning sun rose higher, they began their walk back toward the riverbank. Their pace was slow, savoring each step, each moment. Lena felt the quiet pride of someone who had acted with courage, of someone who had claimed a small piece of freedom and joy for herself. Jack walked beside her, silent but steady, sharing in the triumph without words. When they reached the river, Lena knelt beside it, running her fingers through the cool water. She watched the reflection of the sun, the trees, and the sky ripple in the current. It was a simple moment, but it was powerful. It reminded her that freedom was not just a destination, it was a feeling, a choice, and a state of mind. "I don't want this night to end," Lena said softly. "I want to carry this feeling with me always," Jack smiled. "You can, it's yours now. And even when the world gets heavy again, even when expectations press on you, remember this night. Remember your courage, your strength, and your freedom. It's a part of you now, and it will always be." Lena looked at him, a smile spreading across her face. She felt a sense of peace she had never known. She realized that the future was not a single path but a series of choices, and she had taken the first of many steps with courage and intention. They sat by the river for a long while, talking quietly about their dreams, their plans, and the future they hoped to create. Lena knew that challenges awaited, but she also knew that she was ready to face them. She had learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but the willingness to act despite it. As the sun climbed higher, casting golden light across the plains, Lena and Jack rose together. They untied their horses and mounted them, feeling the familiar strength beneath them, the freedom of the open plains stretching out before them. Lena felt her heart lift with each step, each movement, each breath of wind. She knew that life would continue to test her, but she also knew that she had the power to choose, to act, and to live fully. They rode slowly back toward the edge of the reservation, knowing that the world outside would always have expectations and rules. But Lena no longer feared them. She felt prepared, strong, and ready to face whatever came next. With Jack by her side, she knew that she could meet the challenges with courage, hope, and determination. By the time they reached the village, the sun was high in the sky, casting warm light over the small houses and the familiar streets. Lena's steps were steady, her heart filled with a quiet confidence. She knew that life would not always be easy, but she had discovered a strength inside her that could never be taken away. Jack walked beside her, matching her pace. They did not need to speak. The bond between them, built on trust, courage, and shared dreams, was enough. Together they had faced the tension, the fear, and the uncertainty. Together they had taken a step toward freedom, toward hope, toward life fully lived. Lena took a deep breath, letting the smell of the plains, the river, and the earth fill her senses. She smiled, feeling a sense of peace and triumph she had never known. She had acted with courage. She had claimed a piece of freedom, and she had done it with someone who truly believed in her. The plains stretched endlessly before her, a reminder that life was vast, full of opportunity and waiting for those brave enough to step forward. Lena knew that she would face more challenges, more rules, and more expectations. But she also knew that she had discovered a strength inside herself that could carry her through anything. And as the sun shone down on the river and the fields, Lena and Jack rode forward together, side by side, ready to face whatever the future held with courage, hope, and hearts full of life.